This is a video explanation of exactly the steps by which anyone could write a computer simulation of a second-order control loop using the backward Euler method. Backward Euler is a simple method. It's good for lots of things, but not for everything, but it is useful.
Now, why bother? Because this control loop can be used everywhere. It's the control loop of a split-gate range tracker. It's a filter. It's an antenna's servo control loop. But maybe the most familiar application is the illusion of inertia when you swipe a cell phone screen. It's 1,000 different things, and if you can code this loop, then you can use it for these things and all the rest.
Now, I assume that you have some knowledge of control theory, now that you know what a Laplace transform is, but you know why? Technically, you don't even need to know with these instructions. It's good enough to know that the variable s in these equations is a Laplace transform variable, and it represents a differential operator. And for our purposes, it means take the time derivative. So let's start by drawing the block diagram of a general form of a negative feedback control loop. This is right out of every introductory control theory textbook. The transfer function relates the output v of s to the input u of s, and it's expressed like this. So here's a block diagram of a one channel of a seeker antenna positioning loop, or a range tracker, let's say. So let's write g of s and h of s for the seeker antenna control loop. Plug those into the general form of the transfer function, and we get this. Now, it doesn't look very nice, so let's rewrite it, which we can do by just multiplying the right side by 1, as written as s times 1 over s plus p over s times 1 over s plus p. I mean, you can multiply both sides by 1. It doesn't change anything. Now, cancel the numerator and the denominator and rewrite the equation. That's equation 11. Now we rewrite equation 11, so the output is on the left side and the input is on the right side, so that's equation 12. Now we rewrite equation 12 in differential form because s means taking the derivative and s squared means taking the double derivative, so that's equation 13. Now rewrite the differential equation as a difference equation. This is right out of first year calculus, the very introductory part. It's literally the definition of a derivative. It's so easy. Now, why do we do this? Because we want a mathematical expression that can be used to program a computer to solve the differential equation. So here's how to write the double derivative as a difference equation, and that's equation 14. Now, I should have drawn it first, but here's a picture that defines the variables for the difference equation. I use V for voltage, but it can be anything that changes with time, position or speed, anything. And here's how to write a single derivative difference equation. That's equation 15. Now substitute the expressions for the double and single derivative back into equation 13, so we convert the differential equation into a difference equation. That's equation 16. Now we're getting somewhere because we don't have derivatives in our equations anymore, or s's. Now isolate what we're looking for, which is the variable V0, which is the current antenna position, or the current gate position. It's calculated from the input, U0, and the previous two values of the antenna position, let's say, V1 and V2, and that's equation 17. So collect like terms on the left side, that's equation 18. Write a common denominator for both sides, delta t squared, that's equation 19. Now just isolate the current antenna position V0 on the left side all by itself, multiply both sides by the inverted left side coefficient, and that's equation 20. Cancel the delta t squareds on both sides, and voila, a simplified expression. That's equation 21. Now we're getting close to the end. Now we want to relate the control loop parameters k and p to the normal second order control loop parameters natural frequency omega n and damping ratio zeta and loop gain k or let's call it K prime to distinguish it from the other K. This is important because particularly natural frequency and damping ratio tell us the characteristics of the loop in a way that, at least for me, I can't get from looking at values for P and K. So here we go. This is the transfer function. It's equation 11, which we've seen before. Let's rewrite it so the denominator as the second order canonical form is in the second order canonical form. And that's also right out of every introductory control theory textbook, and that's equation 11a. I also notice in the canonical form that the coefficient of s squared is 1. So let's rearrange equation 11a to make that happen. Just multiply the numerator and denominator by 1 over p. I mean, we can always write any equation by multiplying by 1, where 1 can be expressed in lots of creative ways. Anything over itself is 1. So anyway, the result is equation 11b. So here's the canonical form of the second order control loop, again, right out of an introductory textbook. That's equation 11c. So just by inspection, just by comparing these two, we can, equation 11c and 11b, by comparing the numerators, we get equation 11d, and from the coefficient of s in the denominator of both of them, we get equation 11e, and by comparing the constant term in both denominators, that gives us 11f. And right away, we can write k prime is equal to 1 from equation 11f. The natural frequency is the square root of k over p, and that's equation 11h. And substituting 11g into 11e gives the damping ratio. That's equation 11i. And rearranging the terms gives the final expression for the damping ratio. That's 11k. I haven't missed a step here. Anyway, remember that variable k in the natural frequency and damping ratio equations is really the product of two constants. Kd, the slope of the discriminator curve, that's how much error voltage there is for a given pointing error, and Ka, which is the loop gain. So k is equal to Ka times Kd. Here's the Engage Antenna Design Assist application to illustrate what I mean by the discriminator slope Kd. By clicking a couple of checkboxes, the software automatically calculates the discriminator slope Kd at each stable track point, including spurious track points in the side lobe regions. And then it also calculates the angle servo loop natural frequency and damping ratio from the values of Ka and P for the seeker servo loop, which are defined on the servo loop configuration form. And here is a servo control loop diagram as a reminder. So to use all this, we have to pick a natural frequency and damping ratio that it seems like it will be representative of whatever reality we want to model. Then use equations 11h and 11k to derive expressions for k and p from the values you choose for the natural frequency and damping ratio. So here's the derivation of that. It's pretty simple. Okay, so we start with equation 11h. Isolate P, so that's equation 11L. Substitute 11L into 11K, that's equation 11M. Now isolate the variable, which is really the product of the K, which is really the product of the loop gain Ka and the discriminator slope Kd, as I said before. Now we have an expression for Ka in natural frequency and damping ratio, and that's equation 11n. Now substitute 11n into 11h to get P, and that's equation 11o. Now cancel Kd and rearrange the terms, and that's equation 11p. Square both sides to get rid of that square root sign. That's equation 11q. Isolate P, and that's P expressed as in terms of natural frequency and damping ratio. That's equation 11r. Now, write software that repeatedly solves equation 21 in little time steps. And then write it so the user can choose delta t, the size of the small time step. Now the input is the demanded position as a function of time, u0, or u, the function u, and the output is the achieved position as a function of time. The initial position values are, let's say, all 0 to start. That means v0 equals 0, v1 equals 0, and v2 equals 0 at time t equals 0. Then solve the software, make the software solve the equation 21 for t equals delta t, 1 delta t, and that gives a new value for v0. Now to get the solution for the next time step, where t equals 2 delta t, assign v1 to v2, and they're both 0, so there's no change to v2 yet, and assign v0, which is the answer we just calculated, to v1. Now, and then you have to solve equation 21 again to get a new value for v0. And then repeat this process to creep along through time to get the solution. And watch amazing things happen. Now here's what it looks like. The simulation output, I mean. This is the Engage A-scope application. So let's look at the behavior of a split gate range tracker with different control loop characteristics.
Here's how the gate moves when the loop is underdamped. That's when it has a low damping ratio. The gate position has a ringing transient response until it settles to its final position. Here's how the gate moves when it's critically damped. That's a damping ratio of 0.7. The loop is slower with a bit of overshoot. And here's how the range gate moves when it's overdamped. The loop is sluggish and there's no overshoot. Here's what you get in a missile engagement where the second order control loop is used to represent the missile seeker antenna servo loop, whose input is the discriminator voltage caused by cross-polarization jamming. And the basic second order loop can be used for the sightline rate filters and for the range tracker and for the AGC if there is one and for the autopilot and other parts too. However, for cross-pole jamming, forward or backward Euler is not suitable. You need Geer's second order predictor corrector to suppress parasitic solutions when the loop becomes stiff. Geer's uses an adaptive time step. That's a big difference there. The application most people would be familiar with is the illusion of inertia when you swipe a cell phone. Your finger movement in contact with the screen is the input, the u of t, to an overdamped positioning control loop. Now this is pretty boring stuff explained in painstakingly boring detail, but with it you can start to conquer the world. And now there are other ways of solving differential equations, but this is the basic idea and it's a start.